Hey, this is my goodie! You bully my brother! I tell my mama! Hello, mama? Some people bully our Bega.
Chukan!
Yes, Chukan.
Hey, this is kampong time 1970s one Where got people use handphone one? Don't anyhow use handphone lah!
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Don't pray. You know what to do. Off! What are you doing?
SMS mo?
SMS also cannot lah!
Text lah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to see so many of you here. It's been a dream of mine in terms of the platform that the very generous Lien Fung Colloquium has afforded the Wikimwi Center to bring together one day the two characters who now finally have been brought together. One of them has been particularly elusive, being away from Singapore for many, many years. And then, of course, when you're trying to bring somebody from abroad and the Singaporean and yourself, sort of three of us, have this interesting merry-go-rounds of getting the matching timings and all that right. But everything works out in the end in a wonderful way, so here we are. I want to acknowledge, by the way, before we begin the formal proceedings, the presence of my chairman, Mr. Ho Kong Peng, and his wonderful wife, very fine to be here. And also members of the Lien Fung Committee, I see two of them at least here, Ho Rin Yung and Kwok Kin Chow. Thank you very much. Of course, Lien Fung's wonderful hubby is also here. Thank you. We have in our midst, because I saw the registration list, people from many countries who are here. The ones who may not be so familiar with these iconic figures, please bear with me for a while. But for many of us in Singapore, the 90s were a very, very interesting period. Lots and lots of things were happening, and among them was the rise, shall I say, of persons who are prepared to go a little bit to the edge, and perhaps sometimes were pushed over by all kinds of pressures to be a little bit over the edge. And our two gentlemen today were among those, or have been among those. And over the last 20 over years, many of us have these very, very good, wonderful memories. Their actual creative work began much earlier, but became more and more visible to a lot of Singaporeans from about the late 80s onwards. Many of the young ones who are sort of born 2000 and after may not know our iconic figures as well, but of course there's always history and there are always recordings. For example, the advertisement about shutting off phones and things like that. We'll keep this very simple because you are here to listen to them and engage with them, not myself. We're going to keep this very, very short. I'll first of all call upon Gurmit to do his sharing. And I must say that it's unfortunate that though the university is quite generously endowed and everything is wonderful, we've not been able to actually buy yellow boots for him. Because he told me that the yellow boots are the property of MediaCorp. And MediaCorp is very stingy about lending out these things. So, but anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you've got Gurmit's wonderful bio over here. And, born to a Punjabi father and a Japanese-Chinese mother, he, brings together in his blood a variety of cultural sensibilities, which are very often actually seen in his many, many different acts, whether he's singing or hosting a show, or actually performing as the wonderful carpenter. So, Gurmit, Phua Kang, where are you?
Do you want me to speak here, or shall I get the wireless microphone and walk around? Up to me, is it?
Hello, everybody. Hi. Thanks so much for coming to see Siva Choy. I have to tell you this, I'm very nervous. It's the first time I'm actually giving a talk in a university. Hence the suit. It's a cover-up. Outside I look very suave, inside shitting bricks. Because I've never been to university. My highest level of education was A levels. Even that, barely. I had to repeat. So I did pre-U, 3 years, then repeat again. So I did 4 years, so I have double honors. What do you have, Siva? I know Siva's from the university, I just found out. Maybe what I'll do is I'll tell you a story about how I grew up and what was it like for me. Then maybe understand a bit more about me, not so much about the character. I think a lot of times you have seen my character on TV, but you haven't really seen who the man is behind that. For those of you who are not born yet or don't know what the heck is going on, that guy just now with the curly hair, that's actually me. Because I've come across people who, I met this is one example. I was at a fundraising dinner, and sitting on my right was this wonderful lady. We had a wonderful chat and everything. And one of the things she said to me was, "Hey, you are the Gurmit Singh, right, from Channel 5? I said, "Yes, auntie, I am." "Oh, yeah, you're very good. Keep up the good work." I said, "Thank you, auntie." Sitting next to her was her husband. And then she looked at him, and then she looked at me again and said, "But there's one more person I want you to tell him he's also very good." I said, "Oh, good. Okay, auntie, I'll pass the message. Who is this person?" "Kang, he's very good." I wasn't sure whether she was pulling my leg or being, Then I gave it a 5 seconds, and luckily the husband saved us, because the husband turned around and said, "Dear, this man is Kang." She looked at him, she looked at me, and then she looked at him again and said, "Cannot be what? This guy is Indian." Which sometimes even I forget, because I do so much. And we even had a message in the second season of Kang, somebody messaged Sui Lin, who plays Kang's mother. And the person messaged, "Do you know that Kang actually is an Indian man playing a Chinese man?" And we all laughed out because we forgot. We were so in the role. So let me tell you a bit about my story. I was born in 1965, same as Singapore. So I can never forget my birthday. And neither can you now. So I expect Instagrams and every year, birthday wishes, you cannot. I was born in March. I just had my 51st birthday. Thank you. Born to, as Prof said, I was born to a Punjabi father and a mixed heritage mom, which I didn't know until she passed away in 2001. And then my father called me and my 2 younger sisters one side and said, "Come, I want to tell you a story." So we were like, "Why?" Myself and my 2 sisters were always puzzled and confused about the way we looked. And growing up as a little boy and teenager and all that, we would always once in a while confront her and say, "Mom, why do we look like this? We go temple, don't match. We go church, don't match. We go mosque, never match. So why is it that we look like this?" And she always said, "Oh, we are from different parts of India. There's the north one, fair one." So we always believed her. But as you're growing up, you pick up more information and all that. Then one day when I was primary 6, I learned the concept of birth cert. So I said, "Aha, now I can find out the truth. Now she cannot lie." So I went to my mom and said, "Okay, show me your birth cert now. We're Indians, right? Come." So she showed me a birth cert. Birth cert said Punjabi. I was like, "Wow, really? So you're really Punjabi from the north part or something like that." But then later I found out that in those days, you didn't submit the form and then the club will ask you a lot of questions before verifying your race. The club will give you the form and then you just fill in whatever you want. You can do whatever race you want. Yeah? So my mom had just written in, she could have written in Ang Mo and be okay. So I was still very puzzled and like couldn't get any answer and wondering why. But I thought maybe DNA, deform, whatever. 2001, then my mom passed away. Then my father brought us aside and he said, "I have to tell you a story. There was this lady, a Chinese lady with a laundry basket. And she went to the beach. And she bumped into a Punjabi man. And soon they heard a baby cry, and the cry was coming from the bottom of the laundry basket. So took out the laundry, and there was a baby there. And this Chinese woman started crying. She said, "I came here because I cannot keep this baby. I want to put baby here on the beach. Either someone take it or let it die." So this Punjabi man said, "I just got married, and my wife cannot give birth, she's barren. Can I please have this baby, and I'll take the baby as my own baby. I'll look after her, I promise." So this Chinese woman said, "Please, go ahead." That baby was my mother. So she was brought up in a Punjabi family, a real, you look at the picture, it's like, huh? Photoshop ah? Because my grandparents are so dark, and then she's so white, and there's no facial expression that's even resembling any other parts of the grandparents. So it was really like two different families got together and like took picture together. Hey, come selfie. And then, oh yeah, you're my child. Just like that. So when my father told us that story, then finally it all fit in. Then we understood why. The mother, this happened during a Japanese occupation. So what with that Punjabi man was that her father, the baby's father, was a Japanese soldier. Till today, I don't know whether it's romance or whether it was rape, but she could not have that baby. She had to give it away. And that's why I'm now like half Indian, quarter Chinese, and quarter Japanese. But don't speak Japanese. And don't speak Chinese at all. It's a bit too late. In school, I took up Malay as a second language. When I say I took up, meaning my parents decided for me. Like, those days, nowadays youngsters, they got no rights and all that. No? Huh? You must consult with me, Dad. I have to do this. No? Last time, what am I doing? You're doing English, Malay, and that's it. No discussion. So, me, two younger sisters, and my parents, I was almost born in the bank. My father was a watchman. His whole life was a watchman, security guard, watchman, jaga, whatever you call it. And my mom told me once that she was so much in labor pain, she almost gave birth at the bank, next to the vault. Money there, baby. Exchange. And she went to Kanangrapa Hospital, gave birth, and she told me how it was so laborious, so painful. She told me she actually grabbed hold of the doctor's thigh and said, "When is it coming out?" But I was born. Primary school was Pearl Bank Primary. It's still there, by the way, which is a very proud thing to say, because in Singapore, everything is changing, everything is torn down, built again, torn down, built again, torn down, built again. I go away for holiday, 2 weeks, I come back, change already. Where's the AY? Change already. So it's still there, and my sisters went to the same school too. Then my parents say I was a very, very naughty child. Very naughty, very active. Today they call it ADHD, which is a concept that's debunked already, but yeah, all kinds of concepts coming up. Just call naughty lah, naughty is naughty lah. So I was very naughty. Secondary school, it was Outram Secondary School. I joined the National Police Cadet Corps. Anybody from the National Police Cadet Corps? Put up your hands. 2 of you, thank you. The rest of you are very lazy, I don't join one. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time outside of class more than anything else. I took part in NPCC, I was in sepak takraw, basketball, football, table tennis, LDDs, drama, Malay dance group, harmonica club, debate club. Everything that I could get my hands on, I would go and do it. Because I sucked at school. I really tried. Not that I'm like, I don't care about study. No, I really tried. I like, open the book and, you know. But after 3 pages, I'm the kind of guy, I need pictures. If I don't have pictures, even if I take Red Bull, or, you know, take steroids, whatever, it doesn't work. I will still just doze off. So that was a very hard time for me. Struggle a lot for my academic results. I remember that, you know, those days, I don't know about now, those days when you have a report card at the end, you have that ECA part where you say, I took part in NPCC this year, and I took part in cross-country, full stop, right? Because they have about a few lines there. For me, I had to staple an A4 size paper and write down the list of things that I took part in. I was a prefect, I was a counselor, I was a performer, I was a host, I was a lot of things. Anytime there was a festival in school, like Teacher's Day, Hari Raya celebration, Deepavali, all that, I'll be up on stage. Either as an MC, and now our next item, or as a dancer, or as a singer, or as an actor, or stagehand, anything at all, because I wanted to escape from school. I just wanted to be in this world. I enjoyed it. But the funny side of the thing is that I was very scared about doing it at the same time. It's weird, I know, it's conflicting. Even to this day, I am very nervous when I go up on stage or in front of the camera. People might say that, oh, you know, you've done it for 20 years now, you should be more relaxed, you probably have a philosophy, a formula, or whatever. No, when I was saying shit bricks, I wasn't joking. I was very nervous. I'm always nervous, and I think that's a good thing. I think that for all of us, whatever job you do, if you don't have that little bit of nervousness, that means that you don't care. And when you don't give a damn, that's when you lose your edge. That's when you stop being the best at what you can do or what you can be. So I always embrace that. So my first show on TV was called Live on 5. And every Monday night, it's a live show, by the way. My first time on TV, and they made me into a host for a live show, which is ridiculous. I have no experience whatsoever. You know what was my experience? What was my test? They called me up, they said, we're looking for hosts. Sit down here in front of the camera, and they say, now, talk about yourself in 1 minute. So I said, hi, I'm Gurmit Singh, finish 1 minute. And then they said, turn to your right and pretend to interview someone here who's just visiting us. And then I started to pretend to interview. And okay, thank you very much, we'll call you. And then a couple of weeks later, they call me and say, okay, you're shortlisted, now you're going to be paired off with different co-hosts, female co-hosts, to see how you all have chemistry or not. And we're going to put you in front of the camera, the set and everything to see if this whole package works or not. So every week I had a different woman next to me. Wow. Those were good days. Oh, now it's better, now got one solid woman. So I had this co-host with me all the time. And after a few of these, they even one time called me and said, we have a problem with you. I said, oh, what happened? Your hair is too long. Now, no problem. Back in those days, I had long hair, like a rocker kind of hair. And they said, you look like Douglas Olivero, who was singing the Rolling Good Time show. So please cut your hair. So I cut my hair. And the next thing I know, they said, okay, you're confirmed. You can be the host of the show. I said, great. So who's the co-host? No one. So you're kidding me, right? I'm a newbie. I have no experience with TV whatsoever. All I know is that when the red light is on, look at the camera. The other camera red light on, hey, so I think the camera here. That's I'm basically a well-trained human dog. They said, sorry, we couldn't find anyone with the kind of energy that you have, and so management has decided you'll do a show alone. Now this is a live show, 1 hour show. Any mistake you make will be shown. But one thing good about me was that I didn't care that much that if I made a mistake. Because you see, people's expectation of me was like this. My expectation was here. I had a very low self-esteem. Growing up, I always thought I was the black sheep of the family. I always thought I wasn't good enough for my parents, I wasn't good for my sisters, I wasn't good for anybody at all. In pre-university days, my inferiority complex, as it were, became very, very bad. To the extent that if a schoolgirl was looking at me, I would look down and I'd walk away. To the extent that my first girlfriend, I had to ask her to break up with me because I felt when we were walking down Orchard Road, people were saying, wow, what a beautiful girl and what a bloody bastard. I felt that. I couldn't stop. So I told her to let me go, and she did. To the point that even when I was on TV, you know Miss Singapore Universe, we used to have it on television. I was the host of it for 3 years. The third year, I could not take it anymore. Because while I'm standing here and saying, and now, F2, this is so-and-so, and she likes to do this, and that, and now let's ask her a question. Hello, how are you doing? All right, calm yourself down, let me ask you a question now. I was doing all this, right? But in my mind was telling me, what an asshole you are. You are nobody. What are you doing here? This girl is so beautiful. You are so bloody ugly. Every Singaporean watching you are puking and wanting to kill themselves, and you think you have the right to stand here? Who are you? Get out of here. My mind was playing with me like that. So after the third Miss Singapore Universe, I went to the management office and I sat down with the manager and said, this is the story, I cannot do this anymore. If I try to do it the fourth year, I think I'll break down and cry. Literally. So they excused me, they said, okay, then you don't have to do anymore then. I was really passionate about my argument, and they could see that I have left out a lot of other words because I see there are children around as well, so I don't want to say those words. But it became that bad. So I didn't want to do that show anymore. Talking about Miss Singapore Universe, there's a story here. People say they have good memory, which is kind of true. good memory for script. If, let's say we're filming today and suddenly the script is changed and they give me 5 pages and I have to look at it, I can memorize it quite fast and will shoot, no problem. But the thing is, it's very short term. So for Miss Singapore Universe, during the rehearsal, I came on, I looked at the names, there were 30 names. So I memorized all 30 names so that I could look more professional as opposed to like this F1, F2. Right? So I just did F1. Later after rehearsal, the girls came to me and said, wow, Gurmit, your memory is excellent. Wow, so good your memory. I said, wait. Don't over-credit me because I have to tell you now, if I don't see you within 2-3 weeks' time, I will forget you. Then they, so funny, Gurmit. They pushed me like that. I was trying to be serious, but they thought the comedian joking again. That's the problem with comedians, no? When we are serious also, they think we are making a joke. I'm sure that Siva and I, if we turn up at A&E with a broken arm, bleeding, all that, the nurse will say, so funny! How you get the blood, so nice! And so, the event, about 3 weeks later, we had the Channel 5 event. I was sitting down like this in the event hall, and a few artists were here, and then a few girls came along, and the manager sat them down next to me, and then they looked at me like that. Like expectantly, you know, remember us? Kind of look. And I looked and it was very awkward in the world. It was like, who start first to talk? And then one of them said, oh my goodness, you weren't lying to us. I said, lie about what? She said, oh yeah, you told us that within, after 2 weeks, if you don't see us, you'll forget us. I said, who are you? Miss Singapore Universe contestants. Oh yeah, that's right. Did I say that? Yeah, okay, that must be true. So that's how my memory is. Pre-university, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure what I should do. I tried being in a band in Jakarta. I was a lead singer. Of all things, acting, hosting, dancing, what have you, I've done all of that. Singing is my most favorite. I don't know why. It's about something about singing that even I feel good about it. It rekindles memory, you know, and I always feel that when you sing a song, you are touching someone's life somehow, and that feels great for me. My journey to the band, Jakarta band, was very short-lived because the manager had this big dream. Okay, Gurmit, we'll get you a band. We'll get you 4 Japanese girls. Show me the picture, very pretty. And they're all musicians. Bass, drummer, keyboard, very sexy and all that. No? I say, wow, really? Yeah. Then you be the lead singer. We got a club standing by already to sign you up, and you will perform there. I say, wow, this is a dream come true. Every day I practice, with the coloring machine, to practice the song, get my repertoire bigger and bigger, singers here. And then finally the day came, the manager said, problem. The Japanese girls, their contract is legal binding, they cannot get out. I said, so now how? No worry, we'll go to Jakarta still, you'll still be the singer. I said, wow, this is cool. I ended up with 4 old Filipinos. The keyboardist had a punch display. He couldn't even reach the keyboard. He was like, can someone help me? It was very sad. We went there for a month, we played in different clubs. I fell sick, and I, for the first time, found what it's like to be a singer for clubs. I don't envy them anymore because the time zone is just whack. You don't sleep till 5 in the morning, and then you get up at noontime to practice the new song or rehearse again the same song. And you live like a vampire, basically. And within 2 weeks, I was sick. I went to the doctor, I got injection pump in here, I had sore throat, but I still had to start singing Rod Stewart songs and all that. I am sailing. Wow, this one very good, huh? So within a month, told the manager, I think I'm coming back now. Come back to Singapore. Came to Singapore and started looking, what should I do now? What can I do now? Before that, I had been in Haw Par Villa for 4 years. And I was discovered during my national service days because we would do events. In national service, I was in the music and drama company. So sometimes we would perform for the public, and I sometimes was a dancer, sometimes I was a host, sometimes I was just calefare. But this one particular time, I remember this particular dinner at Goh Chok Tong was back then just a minister, not even a prime minister yet. But he was a VIP. And I had to dress up as a robot, all covered up, like this. And I stand next to him the whole night. So whenever he got up to give speech, I will just walk. And then he would give a speech, then we walk back again. And the whole night, I don't know why I did that stupid job, but sometimes you think you do stupid things, but then when you look back and say, oh, that was the turning point. Because of that, a manager who was going to be the manager for Haw Par Villa saw me and said, hey, I saw you at the event thing. You're pretty good with this thing. I said, thanks. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. Basically, he's saying, you're very stiff. Luckily, it wasn't a woman saying that. But he said that, and then he said, we are opening Haw Par Villa. I said, what? Haw Par Villa? Do you mean the thing, the hell thing one? Yeah, the hell thing one. We're making a theme park. We're going to have mascots and all that. I said, wow, mascots? Yeah, in fact, the design, all that coming from Disneyland. I said, wow, this is great. So what do you want me to be? The mascot. So I was the lion, Jazzo. Anybody remember Jazzo the lion? No, I didn't come your way. Some of you. We went to different schools and we did folk songs, Singapore folk songs like Chan Mali Chan, Di Tanjung Katong, but jazzed up. And I was the lion. Next to me was a compare. Come on, all sing. Then I was like, and then, but most of the time was nice because you see kids coming to you, then they hug you, then you feel, oh, then one stupid kid will hit you in the back. I hate those, no, because your view is just like this, and suddenly you turn. Who did that? You can't even turn around because your face is just nothing. It's just blank. It's dark. And I always curse under my breath, may you die 1,000 deaths. May you have no babies when you get married. So I did that. I was quite happily doing that. One day, we're getting ready for a school tour again. Manager rushes in, says, okay, problem. The compare was supposed to be with you, has back problem. Twisted the back playing tennis. Cannot do this show anymore, permanently. So Gurmit, you come out of the mascot and you become a compare. I've never compared before. But you said, you know the show, so okay, you just wing it. I'll get a dancer and I just tell him to do this a lot of times. So I'm very sorry to that school that day. The mascot looked like an idiot. I'm high on drugs. We did the show, and next thing we know, the manager says, hey, okay, you're not bad, you actually can compare. And I started to play with the crowd, play with the kids, make them laugh and all. Next thing you know, this guy, then I go to Haw Par Villa, and then I do my performances there. And then happened to be a producer in the crowd who saw me and said, because we had interactive part of the show. And the producer said, you're quite good with the crowd, huh? Maybe one day we'll bring you into television. And I said, sure, thanks, let me know. But then, back then I had no name card. Only 4 years later, then I got the call, hey, come in for an audition for a TV program. But after I left the band, I came back to Singapore, I started thinking, okay, let's be serious now. Forget about all these dreams, band, Japanese girls, see-through blouse and all that. Let's get serious now. So I said, okay, I'll be a teacher. Went to MOE, I'd like to apply for it. You don't have maths, cannot apply, sorry. Cannot be a teacher. But my English is almost full marks. No, cannot, sorry. So I looked around and I thought, I saw informatics, computer programming. You may or may not know this, but I love computers. I'm a geek. I can sit in front of the computer doing Pascal, C language, programming for 17 hours straight. I did that once and I stopped because it wasn't my computer. I was over at my girlfriend's place, who now is my wife, and it was a sister's computer. And it was already 6 in the morning, and the sister was getting up to go to school. So I went to sleep, pretend, in the hall. But actually, I love computers. I don't know what it is. I'm not scared. I like to try things. I like to play computer games. I now have 3 kids, 2 older kids, 15 and 19. They play computer games with me. I'm the one who introduced the games to them. Usually it's the other way around, no? The father will say, what are you playing? I'm playing this game. You're very slow one. For me, it's like, hey guys, play this one. Come. And then we'll sit in the living room, 3 laptops open, land shot. We start playing. That was fun. Being a MediaCorp was a huge blessing. For what it's worth, it was a blessing because I never saw myself like this. Remember my low self-esteem? I had told myself that I would end up what my father used to do and what my grandfather used to do, which is just basically be a jagger. When I was 13 years old, I saw how life was difficult to be if you have a family and you're a jagger, and I prayed. And I said, God, this time I was a Sikh. I said, God, if you can you please get me out of this vicious cycle? I see myself spiraling down, doing the same thing, not doing well in school because my results are not very good, and ending up just like my father and my grandfather. I mean, they're nice people, but they couldn't provide the family like I thought one should. That was my 13-year-old dream. So, growing up was tough. It was embarrassing. We would buy a school uniform, 2 size too big. Extra big shirt, extra big shorts, so I can grow into it. Socks. My socks always had, your socks supposed to only have 1 hole, so your foot can go through. My socks had 6 holes. 5 toes and 1 big foot to go in. It was very embarrassing because, Asian houses, they have to take out our shoes and go in, right? Your socks are like that. Honestly embarrassing. My friend's socks all okay. Mine looked like little turtles. So every time I go to my friend's house, I would quickly take off my socks and my shoes. And then you wore socks? Yeah, I thought I wore socks. Took out already. Our concept of celebration, once a year, Deepavali. Either my mom would cook, or we go to KFC. That's the only thing we could afford. In pre-U, I knew something was wrong there. I was really quite poor. We were doing economics, and my teacher wanted a live example. She was doing price, supply, demand, draw the chart, everything. And in the classroom, I was sitting right at the back, left side there, and she said, Gurmit, can you tell me what is your allowance per day so I can do the supply, demand here? So, okay, no problem. I stood up. This one cannot be wrong, right? It's my own allowance, right? So I stood up and I said 40 cents. When I said that, there was a hush in the room. I thought, like, I can't be wrong, right? It's my own money. Why people look at me like it's a wrong answer? Then she told me, Gurmit, sit down. Sit down. Then she asked a few people in the front row and around the classroom. The answers came out, $2, $3, $5, $10. In pre-U, a lot of my friends would say, hey, Gurmit, after school, let's go McDonald's. And I would always say, oh no, I cannot. I got to do this project, I got to help my father, got to help my mother. I would all excuse for them because I didn't have enough money. In my pockets was only 40 cents. Back then, to buy a filet-o-fish meal was $2. So some weeks what I would do is, I would starve during recess, keep the 40 cents. By Friday, I'll have $2. So on Friday, when my parents said, hey, let's go to McDonald's, I said, sure, no problem. Then I'll buy that McDonald's filet-o-fish meal. So today, when I go to any country, any new city, and my family can vouch for this, the first thing I do is go to a McDonald's and buy a filet-o-fish. I'll go outside, McDonald's, and I look up to the heavens, and I'll say a silent prayer and thank God that today I can buy a filet-o-fish anytime I want and eat as many filet-o-fish that I want to. Because I think it's very important that you don't forget where you come from. In my line of work, it's so easy to get so big an ego. Because people are pumping you all the time. Oh, you were awesome, man. Oh, you were beautiful. Oh, that was rocket. You brought the house down. It's all this. And if you're not careful, you lose sight of who you were. So these are the little things that I do to make sure that I don't see some of the people that I've seen do. My family is the one that keeps me very, very, very grounded. My children, when they were young, like 7, 8 years old, my son told me in my face, Dad, outside you're a celebrity. Here, you're just father. And I like that. They didn't care that I didn't even try to push it and say, hey, see all my shoes, look at this. In fact, if anything, it was the opposite. If they said, are you doing a show tonight? I said, yes, I am. Is it live? Yeah. But if you don't want to watch it, it's okay. Just do whatever you want to do. Your homework, or you want to relax. I'd rather they just have a normal life. You know, it's not easy to have a normal life being famous, especially when you have a family like this. Because when you step out of the house, you are private property. And I'm sure like nice people like you, if you come to me and say, hey, Gurmit, get that picture? I'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm with my family. You all will say, oh, it's okay, it's okay. But 9 out of 10 will do that. But 1 out of 10 will roll their eyes. There was a mother, she came to me and said, oh, sorry, I'm with my family. She said, okay, not like that. Sorry, Your Highness, but I cannot spend time with you. So it's difficult. It was a difficult time in my life in the sense that I had to make sure I was spending enough time with my family. But 20 years went by just like that. And that was when I realized, wow, I'm not getting younger, and I need that time for the family. If I was the kind of guy, or our family was in such a way that we didn't really require a lot of family time, I wasn't a family man, that's fine. But I'm very family oriented, really. After I do a show, after I do a big event and all that, most of my peers will go clubbing, celebrate and all that, hey, let's down some. I go straight home. I've even been told in my face, by another celebrity, you party pooper lah. Don't know how to enjoy life. So sometimes I felt I was in the wrong place, in the wrong industry. But I guess everything has its purpose. Wow, what a down note to end there. Okay, let's bring it up again. So after I left MediaCorp, I found myself having more time than ever, and it's been a blessing. It's been, I guess you pay your dues lah. Everything is a phase of life, so you have different stages in life. So my first 20 years was, fame, fortune, whatever, all that. Now the next 50 years is going to be about me and my family, and me and my family. And I know this is going to be very good because already last year I went for 5 holidays, and last year in June in Bali, I was with my son. I'll remember this story till the day I die. Just the 2 boys, father and son, because he suffered the most. I was at my peak of my period, I hardly saw him, and so I want to catch up with him a lot. So the 2 of us went to Bali, had a water theme park holiday and all that. 2 boys, can do so many things wrong. Eat wrongly, sleep wrongly, order wrong food, don't care, don't even bathe, don't flush, stuff like that. So we went to the theme park, we were having fun, queuing up, splashing, all that. And then at this one particular queue, suddenly he turned around and looked at me in a very grave face, like he had something bad to tell me. And this is what he said: Dad, this is nice. Thanks. As a father, my heart just melted that I did something right. Recently, my daughter, my eldest, was interviewed by a magazine because we had gone for a date with daughter event. This is nice. You, father and daughter, go to a date with other fathers and daughters in the ballroom, and they have some activities that allow you to then strike a conversation and learn more about each other. It was great. So after the event, she was given a set of questions to ask, and one of the questions she was asked was, what is it like to live with a super celebrity like your dad, so famous? One would have thought she would say, oh, it's cool because we get to cut queue, and we get freebies, and we get event invitations, and I'm recognized, and I have more friends than I should, stuff like that. But what she did say was this: my father, in 20 years, the past 18 years, was a mythical creature to me. Never knew when he would be in, never knew when he was going out, wasn't sure when he'd be around. So when I read that, my heart on one side was like disheartened, but also encouraged because I've taken a step now to make sure that will never happen again. And I'm spending time with all of them. My baby girl, okay, by the way, I have a 19, a 15 boy, and then a baby girl, 3 years old. Very cute, I know, I wish I could PowerPoint for you. But she's very cute. And my oldest, 2 older ones, they told me, they pointed out something very significant. They said, Dad, do you realize that this little one will never know you as a famous person? Will know you just as a dad. So it's never too late to undo some things and do right by them. So, besides spending time with my family, I also listen to what Dr. Kirpa asked me to do, like come here and give talks. Once in a while, I shampoo my hair and take a shower. Thank you very much for listening to me. God bless you.
Thank you. When we were studying literature, we came across many memorable lines, but one of them was beauty comes before age. So we've got beauty out of the way now. Now it's come age. Sorry, Siva, I'm taking liberties. But Siva and I go back a long, long way. We met at the old University of Singapore in Bukit Timah. And as we were coming up to the auditorium, I was recollecting that in those days, if you took a taxi, you had to say, Aiki Tua O. You know, Tua O was the thing, big, like the big school. So Siva was a legend. As soon as I entered university in the English department, Siva Choy was already like a name. And we were all sort of like in awe of this wonderful guy who had been singing since the age of whatever, 7 or 8. So again, rather than listening to me, let's bring on Siva Choy.
Yeah, can you hear me there? All right? Yes. You can, yeah. Okay. It's funny, Gurmit mentioning that he'd never been to university and that he felt very strange on the podium talking here at the university. Well, Gurmit, the thing is, funny things about universities as well. I got into the university totally by accident. Yeah. You know, it's very funny, but in the time that I was a kid, right, we were looking at the 50s. In my generation and my group, my people, if you got a standard 7, which is 2 years before your O-levels, you could go and become a clerk. And then you'd get lifetime employment and you'd be okay the rest of your life. So people would say with awe, you know, that boy next door's got a standard 7. Yep. And then it went up a little higher. It went up to A-levels. And if you got A-levels, I mean, you got your O-levels, your senior Cambridge, you're okay. So somehow or the other, I started off in a tiny little school called Pasir Panjang Primary School, and then moved on to Pasir Panjang Secondary, and then to Bartley Secondary School. Yep. And it was in Bartley Secondary School that all sorts of things really started to happen. Like I said, I blundered my way through. Finally went up to senior Cambridge and actually passed. And I thought, okay, this is it. Now I'm going to go and look for a job. That was it. And so I went out and I tried and applied for a job as Tamil translator for the Straits Times, despite the fact that I had failed in my Tamil in senior Cambridge. And they were not impressed because I wrote an essay on marine life. Marine life in Tamil, which was full of words like whalum, sharkum. Failed. So I thought, now what do I do? So, you know, you've been in school for so long, 4 years. So I thought I'll just go back to the school and hang around and see what's happening there. And I'm there and I run into my good friend, my best friend for many, many years and still is, Tan Baba, who's right there in the audience. Baba, my good friend, we went on to join the Straits Times later. And it was, Baba and I became very good friends in that school. And I saw him there and I said, what are you doing here? He said, Ryu. And I actually said, what? He said, oh, it's a very special kind of school, Ryu. No maths, no biology, no chemistry. You can do literature. You can do history and this thing called economics. And then there's one paper called general paper where you can bluff. So I thought at that time, like most other Indians, I was destined to be a lawyer, right? So I knew the bluff part would certainly work for me. So I went in there and said, can I get into pre-U? And the teacher there said, "You've missed it by 1 mark." All right? But she said, "I'll give you that extra mark just to let you." Those days you could fix things. Okay? These days you can't. One of the benefits of living in a society which sort of lacks rules about health. But anyway, so that was it. So I got into pre-U. Pre-U, we did all the subjects. I flunked geography simply because I never liked geography. So when the geography paper started in the finals, I just walked out. There's no point doing it, yeah? So I did economics, history, literature. And of course, for 2 years, I didn't bother to study. There was no need for it. And then just before the exams began, I thought, got to find a place to study. Do a midnight study course, right? Tan Baba turns up and says, "I got the best place. It's the Kolam Air incinerator." Rubbish. Remember that? So we went to this rubbish incinerator because his friend had a key, you see. We sat there in this huge incinerator with all that garbage, studied all night, and then washed our face in the morning and went to school. So I actually sat through my English literature paper and almost failed. So I thought, okay, back to Tamil translator's job. And then this girl turns up, gorgeous looking girl, right? She said, Siva Choy, help me. I'm going to go to university to apply to join university. And the seniors will rag girls. Can you come and protect me? Yeah, but I had hair this long at that time. It's rock and roll, yeah? Looked very threatening. Yeah, so I just said, "Oh, not to worry, I'll follow you." And true enough, nobody messed with her, right? The gorilla next to her house. And you know, I sort of went there and said, "What's all this?" And there was this guy there saying, "Law." I said, "Oh, how many years?" 4 years. "Oh, 4 years. What's this one?" He said, BA. BA. How long for that? 3 years. Let me see. Form? I filled it in, passed it in and went off. Then I got this letter saying you accepted. So I thought, okay lah, may as well go to university. And that's exactly what happened, yeah? It was a complete accident. And then when I was in university, I think for the 3 years that I was in university, I spent more time playing in the nightclubs than I did attending lectures. So that finally when it came to the exams, they were going to flunk me. They were going to actually bar me from the exams at one point. And then they just decided, well, because you've been working in the night to subsidize your own education, well, never mind. We'll judge you just by your exam results. And so I stopped music for 3 months, went and lived in Raffles Hostel, where you had breakfast and everything there for 3 solid months, caught up with 3 years of... Very useful. And then after that, I thought, right, maybe I'll do a master's in English on Addison, Pope, Swift, and the Augustan writers. Professor Enright, was my professor at that time, said to me, "I don't think you're cut out to be an academic." He said, "If you want to do your master's, I'll be glad to let you do it, but I think you should continue playing rock and roll." And then he said, if I had a choice between being an academic and a rock and roll musician, I would be a rock and roll musician. Okay? So I thought, well, he knows what he's talking about. And so I decided I would stop it there. Then I joined the Straits Times. Fanfare, to be exact, yeah. Entertainment magazine, because I felt I knew music, so I could get into newspapers, which I did. And a short while later, I decided this wasn't for me. I was just aware that once you get in there, you'll be there for the rest of your life. And I wanted to get out, so I left, and I went off to England with no particular plan in mind. And for the next 5.5 years, with no particular plan in mind, I wandered around Europe just doing odd jobs and playing music in clubs and things like that. University of life. Anyway, By that time, I got a letter from the army saying, hello, you are on your exit permit has expired by 2 years. Come home and be arrested. So I wrote them a long letter saying, you know, thanks to the great training you gave me, I am now proposing to bicycle back from Amsterdam to Singapore. And they actually wrote back saying, okay. It really happened. So I had no choice. I had to bicycle back. I found 2 other guys and said, guys, I was in Holland at that time, and I said, look, guys, we bicycle 25 kilometers to work in the morning and 25 kilometers back. That's 50. I said, if we did 50 kilometers a day, you could do 250 kilometers in 5 days, right? Okay. I said, if we did 100 kilometers a day, which is easy to do, we could do 700 kilometers a week. And I said, by my calculations, we should be in Singapore. And those 2 guys said, what a great idea. So we got the bicycles, we did the training, and then we went out and started working. And it was interesting work because my job was actually to help demolish 17th century buildings and then pick up the bricks and clean the cement off the bricks and put them in neat stacks so that people who wanted to renovate their 17th century homes could choose the right brick for their 17th century home. 10 cents a brick. And those bricks were so old that all you have to do is tap it, the cement just falls off. All right? So we earned a lot of money, which we spent in the pubs. So we left in winter. We're supposed to leave in summer, but we delayed it. We left in winter. And then we bicycled back, yeah? And that was a bit of a problem because I had a Singapore passport. So with the Singapore passport, there were some countries I couldn't go through. You couldn't go through Albania, you couldn't go through Yugoslavia, some countries like that. In a situation like that, what do? You know, so we had to change our route. So we had to go through Italy, cross over to Greece, from Greece into Turkey. And in Turkey, they gave me 2 weeks to cross Turkey, which is not much time to cross Turkey. So what do? You just sort of follow the other 2 guys because they are European and they've got different passports. So you just go through the customs with your visa 2 weeks behind time, hoping nobody notices. So as long as you're a 3rd guy, they don't notice. Like, yep, next one. Yep. So eventually, bit by bit, we got through, except in India where one of the guys lost his bicycle. He didn't lose his bicycle, it was stolen. It was stolen through one of the guys in the villages who had the help of the police inspector there. That's how it works, yeah. So, so he flew back to England and then he came back much later, got a bicycle and cycled back on his own through Malaysia down to Singapore to complete it, yeah. So that was the end of the trip. Took us a year. So of course I went to MINDEF, 1 week behind time. I thought this is it. Go in there and I said, this is me, 14th PDF. And this young guy there said, what 14th PDF? I said, 14th People's Defense Force. It was basically the F group of the army. Okay? All the rejects, asthma cases, bow-legged guys went in there, you know, that sort of a thing. And I was all right in there because all the officers said, you're a journalist now. Hey, very interesting, sit down, have a cup of tea. So I ended up making tea all the time while the other guys were doing the maneuvers. So it was a great experience. These guys said, I've never heard of the 14th PDF. I said, don't waste my time, call your officer here. So the officer turns out to be another Singapore University person. He says, hey, Choy, what the hell are you doing? Giving us trouble? I said, hey, this guy says he never heard of the 14th PDF. She said, it doesn't exist, they've been disbanded. They were that bad. I said, so what happened to all of them? They put them in the police. So here I was thinking, oh man. So I said, so what happens? They said, you have to go and do police NS. I said, I've done my NS in the army. You know, crack, commandos, 14th PDF, rejects. No way. So I went back and got into the police. And then I I rather liked it there. So after I finished my NS, I volunteered and stayed on for a long time with volunteers, yeah. So that was basically the run of it. In the meantime, on the aspect of comedy, which is what we were initially talking about, it started very, very early. It started when I was a little kid. My mom claims that I came out grinning. You know that thing about doctors, they pull you up upside down and whack you to make you howl? She said you were still grinning when they whacked you. They had to whack you. I have a funny feeling, if it's true, you know, it's probably an awareness of how absurd it is. First of all, you're drowning in there, and the next moment you're pulled out into the bright lights with a whole bunch of moronic guys looking at you. Then some guy grabs you by your feet, and you're naked, and they hold you upside down. Yeah? So, of course, after the whack, I cried. And it occurred to me that that's basically a foretaste of life. And the idea that when you're too happy, somebody will come along and whack you. And you know, all through the time, I went through primary school, Pasir Panjang Primary School. It was an ordeal, you know. It was an ordeal because they said, write an article, Pasir Panjang, I'm living on the beach. Write an article on how I spent my Sunday. Okay, all the kids are writing essays like, we went to the beach. You're living on the beach, you know. And so I would write things like, you know, Joe took his bicycle and went right through Mrs. So-and-so's roof. Crash, bang, tinkle. A teacher will call me up. Come here. Are you trying to be funny? So my honest answer, yes. Whack. Those teachers in those days carried rulers. Not to help you with your trigonometry or geometry. For that, you don't need a 3-foot ruler. Some of these teachers didn't complete their education during the Japanese occupation, okay? So they worked as interpreters for the Kampitai and things like that, which is where they learned a few techniques. So if your knuckles, your head, you know, hence the expression, you know, get this into your head, okay? Right? The only thing they didn't learn from the Kampitai, I suppose, was so all this going through one ear, coming out through the other. Anyway, to come back to what I was saying, in that school, anytime you tried something funny, it didn't work. We did a play, Julius Caesar, right? Where the statue of Pompey adds his own comments to it. Julius Caesar arrives on a bicycle. Casca's got a machine gun. The teacher said, what do you think you're doing? Ow, everybody laughed, but no prize. Who gets the prize? The prize goes to a bunch of kids who did one on how we are all living together happily, multiracial. And I argued, you know, that you cannot, if you want a multiracial society, you cannot have everybody marrying, in the end. To be multiracial, they need to be separate. It's a very dangerous ideology for the time. Lost. And after that, every time we tried something funny, this is what would happen. Somebody would come along and say no. Now, I just want to set the record straight. We were not the first people to actually come up with a comedy album in Singlish. In the 1960s, early 60s, a group of Singaporean DJs, announcers they were called, on radio, actually did a series on television in which they used Singlish and they made fun of different ethnic groups. Yep. And as expected, they were taken off the air after a while because some people were sensitive about the ethnic jokes. So they were very early, and that inspired me. It inspired me because at that time in Singapore, you could not get a job as an announcer unless you spoke BBC English. Right? It would happen. And we had one, you won't believe this, one announcer actually interviewed Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones with his English accent, local guy. Tell me, Michael, so how do you feel, Michael? All the way through. And we had that. You could not use a Singapore accent. It was okay if you did an ad of a French restaurant where somebody says, hey, come to Pierre restaurant there. We serve there. Okay. Hey, come to Roberto's Italian restaurant. Hey, okay, you try the local one. Come to Ah Seng restaurant and eat my kway teow. Not done. So for some reason, we were getting the stick because we were doing local humor, and local humor wasn't accepted. It was quite difficult. Finally, when we did the first album, which was in 1976, the guy who produced the album said, it's so raw, so Singaporean, I think this is going to be banned by the government. So we had to publish it in New York. It was printed in New York. He made 100 copies, and then he changed his mind and said, you can all have 10 copies each. Take it back as a souvenir, which we did. And I gave all of mine away, and people turned it into cassettes and distributed it. And then one day somebody came to me and said, I heard your cassette at a party. I thought, oh, that's interesting. He said, and there was a certain brigadier general who was laughing his head off. So I told the producer, I said, hey, I think maybe now the time is right. And he said, no, he went off to the States, he got into computers after that. Yeah. And so we were left with this album called Wrong Number. That was 1976. Then Jimmy Wee, a pioneering record producer, came along and said, could you do a record? Yeah. And I said, sure, next week we'll start. 15 years later, yeah, exactly. 15 years later, Why You So Like That came out. And it was done very quickly. We just pulled people out from the studio. We pulled people out from around and put them all together and just said, help us with this, yeah? And it came out. We didn't think it would be as successful as it did. It was that. And I decided after that, you know, like Gone with the Wind, certain things, you just do one production and go away. Yeah? That's it. Don't try another follow-up. So don't push your luck, yeah? So I decided, no, thank you, yeah? So that was the end of that. So coming back again to the last question, which is, do I think, the essential question which we're supposed to discuss really, which is, are we getting to be more easy with humor? Are we learning to laugh at ourselves? I most certainly think we are. I wish I had had that sort of an atmosphere when we were starting, but these things take some time. And I think that in any country in the world, you work under limitations, one way or the other, and you need to work within those limitations. Yeah, that is the challenge. And as long as you can work within those limitations and get what you want to say out, if you can get some good social satire, you will always find people ready to listen. As for this business about do Singaporeans have a sense of humor, that is a silly question. As long as I've known all my life, all the people around me have always had a fantastic sense of humor, except that they think there's a time and a place for it, which is a pity, yeah? There is no time and no place for humor. It should be a part of our everyday lives, all of us. So that's about all I have to share with you guys today. Thank you.
Right, now the time we've been also waiting for to engage with our celebrities. Gurmit, can I invite you to the stage? Thank you. While Gurmit is coming up, I just want to say that I think, and we have members of the whole family here, I think Mrs. Ho would have been thrilled at what we have heard. The main agenda, if there's one, of the Lien Fung Colloquium is to try to bring people to the university which will connect the academic world of the university with the real world outside of the university. So I think in that way, this has been a tremendous kind of 1 hour so far. So now it is my turn to just sit there and ask a few questions, but it's your turn actually, so raise your hands. There are mics all over the place. But for now, our Q&A begins. Thank you very much, Gurmit and Siva.
You're welcome.
Let me just begin by asking a very simple question to both of you. Both of you come from quite extraordinary backgrounds. The kind of backgrounds with a lot of color, with a lot of oomph, and yet at the same time also some perhaps sorrow. do you think that if you had come from a very different background, I mean, I know the simple answer, you probably know, but if you came from a different background, how would your journey have been in terms of being what you are today? Would you even have come this way, or would you have taken a different route? Maybe Siva, I'll start with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in all fairness, I don't think I ever felt that I was deprived, ever. In the area that I grew up in, most of the people were kampong people. It wasn't very rich background in that way. Most people earned just about enough to keep alive. But I think it was a very happy childhood, a very full childhood. So I don't think at any point I felt that I was being deprived. Yeah, so that's a hard question for me to answer.
He came out lucky, born smiling already. For me, I think it was. So you done?
No.
You done? For me, I fall into the category where I saw my family wasn't rich enough, and there was a lot of stress at home, trying to make ends meet, and throw in another spanner. My grandfather was an alcoholic. So all those things, I remember these things better, more vividly than the other happier moments. Of course, I relish the moments where we went to KFC, and back then KFC had plates and fork and knife, real ones. Huh? Yes, remember? You slice the chicken, wow, the steam come out. Nowadays it looks like props. What is this? Bounce, which is alarm. But I think sometimes comedy has to come from these kind of places. Because we are in a world where we think there's too much of the unhappy moments, then we, as a comedian, try to look for or create those moments outside of our world so that we can then have some escape, some release. And I think that was, for me, that was what was happening.
Wonderful, thanks. Anybody ready to begin the public Q&A? Anyone wants to go first? Say a few things?
First one gets movie tickets.
One yet?
Siva Choy.
Yes,
we have a lady.
please, yeah.
Can I just shout it?
Whoa, why not? Why not? Go ahead.
If both of you went to met Wang Sa and Lien Fung, what would you say to them?
If we met who?
Wang Sa and Lien Fung.
Oh! The Chinese comedian stuff was the, what's the English word for it?
Now? Are they in heaven?
Yes.
Yeah, they're in heaven now.
If you met them
Apu
in
Hassan, Apu Hassan. I don't remember that. Wait, who's Apu, who's Hassan? What would I say to them?
what would you say? What would you both say to them if you met them in heaven?
Well, I'll thank them. Well, we're soon going to heaven, thanks. We're going to heaven, brother! I will start speaking now! I think the angel has spoken. Thanks, Michael. I would say thank you. I think growing up, I had my comedy heroes, the Jerry Lewis, Robin Williams, late Robin Williams, Jim Carrey. All these people, when you think about it, if you have a minute to think about it, these people work very hard actually to make you laugh. And they make me laugh too. So if I see any of these heroes, I would say thank you so much for putting some laugh in my life. Because I've stopped reading papers for 25 years now. Because, not any political thing, but because I realized every time I open the papers, it was all bad news. This got killed, this one got killed, that one got raped, this one got, and these people died, this whole village died. Every time I finish reading papers, I get out of the house feeling very depressed. So I stopped reading papers. So now I'm on Spotify, on YouTube, looking for stand-up comedians just telling jokes. On the way here, I was listening up to Bill Burr on Spotify. Such funny guy, he was talking about pedophile. But that's another story. It was very funny,
Yeah, no, I was thinking that if I used to see them, I couldn't understand the humor because my knowledge of Chinese wasn't good enough. So I got little bits and pieces out of that, their comedy. They were very, very funny people. In fact, it was one of those things about humor in the early days in Singapore that was very largely ethnic. People actually had ethnic comedians who went up there. So if you're a Malay comedian, most of the jokes you made were within the context of your Malay cultural environment. You had an audience that understood you perfectly well. You knew the idiom, you knew everything that was necessary to do a really good job. The same thing applied to comedians who were talking to a Chinese audience. You had an audience there that understood you. I think the problem always was with those who did their comedy in English, because we were addressing a multi-ethnic audience, people of different cultural backgrounds who happen to speak English, and whose command of English varied greatly. So you just didn't know whether you wanted to do sort of like a very crude humor or try something very sophisticated that might go above their heads. You weren't quite sure. So I think we always had a bit of a rough time in that sense, yeah. I think Singlish helped to bridge that, yeah.
I love Singlish. I love Singlish.
Okay, thank you. Yes, there's one more there, yeah?
A very good evening to all. This is a question for Siva. I would like to know between two of this comedy and authorship that you're doing right now, which is your first passion, and which will you pursue for as a long life journey ahead? And there's another one for Gurmit. Your name is synonymous with PCK. I would like to know what is your next project in mind in 5 years' time in the pipeline that is more true to your heart, that you would want to be made known again for something that is true to your heart, that you want to propagate in your next project as your next pet project, or there's nothing in mind at the moment that you are going along with life as usual, or it will be your own passion, or will you follow in the guidelines along MediaCorp just to bring their own success to become your success? Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, that was like 7 questions. I was trying to keep track, and then well, thank you very much. What was the first one? Synonymous with PCK. What was it about that? See, I have a very good memory, right? No new. Okay, when I got out of PCK, when it ended, I had already done 10 seasons, and when I left that project, it was the longest running English show in Channel 5 history. So, and he's done everything. He's done Broadway, he's done musical, he's done MTV, he's done the government project SARS video, he's done President Star Charity. Even his face was on an aeroplane to Hong Kong. And people in Hong Kong must have been confused, what the heck is going on? Why is this huge face on the tailwind and of PCK? So he's done a lot and he's done everything. And I really almost feel respect for this character. I think because of this character, I've been brought to so many places. And I said earlier on, I love Singlish, and I stand by it because I think Singlish is something that we truly can call our own. We've always been looking for a national identity, you know. We talk about the orchid, we talk about the kebaya, we talk about food, but if you think about it, it's the language, it's beautiful. I was in San Francisco, and then I heard behind me, hey, this one, sure one. I turned around, and then I said, hey, Gurmit Singh ah? I said, yeah. Singaporean ah? Yeah. It's beautiful because it's such an effective and such a beautiful language. I love it to death. And, but of course, PCK had his problems with the language, with the government, and in season 2, he was told to tone down, and we were given strict instructions that we cannot use the word la, meh, haw, to the point where I actually got a letter from management to tell me that you must watch the National Day rally because PCK and you are going to be mentioned. So then I was in front of television with my suitcase standing by in case I had to migrate. I don't know what the speech was. He didn't send an email attachment. But kudos to PM Go back then. You know, he did it very lightly, like, you know, join best class. Maybe PCK can be better in English. Then he will be, you know, it will influence positively the others who are trying to follow him. But to the point that I couldn't say la and all that. So when I went to Malaysia as PCK, I do a lot of shows in Malaysia for dinner and dance and all that. So there was a corporate dinner, fundraiser, organized by ministers' wives. There were 12 wives there at the table. And the VIP was then the PM Abdullah Badawi. When I went on stage as Pochuka, straight away I said, hello everybody, hello Prime Minister, sorry, I cannot do the Singlish, my government still cannot say. So I only can call you Prime Minister Abdul Badawi. I took a risk, I know. I could have been shot. But he laughed and he asked me to come and take a picture and all that. But it was so controlled then. So PCK has been a blessing. I'm one of those, I can say now, who went not to work, went to play. Because essentially I just went out there, scold a lot of people, and humiliate people, and shout at people, and then I got paid for it. As far as other pet projects are coming up, I don't have any in particular, although there have been a few offers coming my way asking me to direct movies. That would be a natural progression. So my family is excited about that, but I'm not too keen to quickly jump into it because I'm afraid that again I'll lose my time with my family. But then being my own boss now, I can say when I want to do something and when I don't do something. So I'm working on that now. So maybe I'll be directing a movie and hopefully you come and see the movie. Thank you very much.
Keep us in touch, yeah?
Yes.
Siva, yeah?
Yeah, in my case, I think I'd like to try my hand more at writing from here, only because it's something you can do in the comfort of your home, in your own time. And you can think very, very carefully about every word you are putting down. So it becomes a kind of a bit of some craftsmanship involved in there. Whereas doing live shows, doing stand-up, for example, you depend quite a lot on making things up as you go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the great thing about live shows is that if you catch a show live, it's an incredible experience when it's good for both the presenter and the audience. If it fails, it really fails. It does, yeah? So you've got some degree of control which you don't have. So I find that I would like to spend more time translating humor into writing rather than performing.
Do you still do that Tamil translation?
No more. Yeah, no, this is incredible. Yeah, no. Nobody wants to hire me.
Okay. Anyone else would like to go? Yes, please.
What advice would you give to someone who would like to start a career in comedy, either as a performer or as a writer?
Be happy, right, Zabun?
Hey, yeah.
Be happy. Okay. Yeah.
Me? Oh, okay. I don't know about the writing bit because I don't do much of writing like Siva has done. For me, I get the script, and then during the rehearsal, I will then put in my 2 cents worth and say, maybe this line will work better this way, or inspired, I say another line instead, or add on to the line. But why I want to be careful with comedians is that, and this is my honest 2 cents worth only, comedy has to come from inside. You're either born with it or you're not. You can have the best lines, the funniest punchlines, and you give it to the guy. If he doesn't know the timing of it, it falls so flat. Everybody in the audience just be harakiri themselves because it was such a nice punchline and you just spoiled it. So timing is everything. On top of that, hard work. We have good laughs when the show is good. We all get good laughs, but there are days when we don't get laughs and we start judging our value on this earth and all that, and it can be quite hard. So there's a lot of hard work involved as well.
And I think for somebody who wants to start doing comedy, the kind like you said, it helps if you have a natural sense of humor. It's like music. I think if you've got a bit of musical talent, it helps a bit. Yeah. Although with electronic music now, you don't really need to. You've got machines that can not only get your voice straight, make you sound very good. You've got musicians who can actually create the music without using any musicians at all. It's all done by computers, by the way. A lot of the stuff. All the singing is done by computers. Justin Bieber is a robot. But you don't know that. Yeah? But I think you need a bit of that talent. But the only thing to do is, if you're serious about it, would be to try it out. Try it out at parties, try it out with friends and see where that goes. Yeah? And if after a few attempts you find it's not really working, then maybe you should go into politics or something.
Yes. Yeah.
First question for Gurmit. If you could recollect, could you share with us how did you come upon that role, PCK, the genesis of it?
Okay.
And then the second question is for Siva.
Yeah.
Why Siva Choy?
Oh my God.
Were you supposed to be called Nancy Choy? What's going on here? Dirty Lamprey coming out. This is back in the day when we were trying to come up with a show called Gurmit's World. And in Gurmit's World, the concept was that each week I would play 2 different characters, short skit, 50 minutes, half an hour show. And in total we'll have 6 characters, and I'll take turns roster over the weeks. We went to management, we had a few characters already lined up. And then the manager turned around and said, why don't we have a character who is a contractor? And me and the writing team like, what's so funny about a contractor? It's just building stuff, what? No big deal. They said, no, a lot of Singaporeans are always renovating their homes before they marry, after they marry, when they divorce, whatever. They're always renovating their home. So, and he personally said, I think I've heard of stories, people order something, but something else turns up instead. You know, I ordered the light, but toilet bowl came up instead because of the wrong order code. I said, let's play with that a bit. Then we like grudgingly actually went back to the meeting room and said, okay, let's think of this. But while we're there, I suddenly remember, hey, wait a minute. I put up my hands and said, when I was in secondary 3, I worked for a brother team, 2 brothers team, and it was a renovation thing. So I was just a general worker. All we did was help carry the bricks, cement or whatever. But these 2 boys, these 2 men rather, the one brother could speak some decent English, had a mustache, a bit of a swarmy look to it, still a big though. The other brother, hopeless, had a belly, gold everywhere, gold tooth also. It was like the more gold you have, the more street cred you have, right? And his English was so totally out of this world. I'll give you an example. I was hammering nail, and then the hammer hit my hand, and I said, ouch! And then he said, what for? First time I never see English, what for? Hey, well, Chinese, what's it? Then another time was me and my friends were taking a lunch break, and then we were laughing, ha ha ha. He walked into the room, and he said, this brother, he said, laugh what? Laugh your sister no hair. I was like, well, let me translate it to Hokkien. And then I told my friend who was Hokkien and Cantonese, and I said, what does it translate to? And they also said, don't know what it is. Till today, I have no idea what he said. I don't think he knew what he said too as well. So then I started telling this kind of stories. I said, wait, so maybe we could do this guy, you know, fashion after him, where his English is really, and then we do the Singlish bit, really go all out with the Singlish, la, man, law, and all that. And we were so detailed that to the point where we said, okay, he should have a mole. Because although he thinks it's perfect, his man's answer to, God's answer to, what's the phrase? Woman, God's answer to women. Yeah, God's gift to women. Okay, yes. He still had to compensate because he had this flaw, which is a mole in your face. And we'll even discuss whether the mole should have a strand of hair or not. After going through a few pictures, we realized a strand of hair to us made it look sleazy. And we didn't want that. We wanted to be crass, down to earth, low class, but somehow approachable, friendly, you can go to the pub with him kind. And then we pitched the idea, PCK was born. So he came on sometimes with Muthu, there's another character that play, or another character that play on Gurmit's World. But we realized this, every time that week PCK was on, or Muthu was on, the ratings would double. So after 2 seasons of Gurmit's World, we realized, management said, let's give Phua Kang his own sitcom and see what happens. And you know what? It almost didn't happen. Because at the same time, there's another sitcom coming up called 3 Rooms. It was fashioned after the American sitcom Friends. 3 beautiful girls, 3 handsome boys living in a HDB flat or condo, whatever. And they got all the sponsors, press conference in 4 Seasons Hotel. Ours? Because before you start a show, you need to get sponsors, right? The marketing people have to go to American Express or go to other companies and say, we have a sitcom, it's called Phua Kang. And in Hokkien, Phua Kang means whole, Phua, break, house, whole, which is the wrong name for a contractor. And he's low class, not very good English, and he steals from his customers. Would you like to sponsor this show? So it was understandable when the sponsor said, our brand cannot be associated with your kind of sitcom, I'm so sorry. So we had no money, we were already in debt, we were already in the rent, And our press conference was held in the studio itself. And our food came from the food canteen. Curry puff and some boxes of drinks. And the reporters didn't know this, thought they were trying to be very cute. Very homeland, heartland. Like, actually no money, that's what we was. The 3-room sitcom, they had the rehearsals in a nice rehearsal room. Aircon, coffee, tea, break time, all that. Wow. Our rehearsal room was in the storeroom's storeroom. Walls, dusty, one small window up there, and one time we actually got locked up by the store guy because he went for lunch. And when we went to go for lunch, our door was locked. We had to call everybody and got it. So we were kind of dejected, but the producer said, no, I sense that we have something decent here. Let's just do it, and after first year, let's see what happens. So in that first year, we gave our tape to the Asian Television Awards to see if we would get recognized or whatever. Lo and behold, back then, Under One Roof was the king. And they were winning Best Sitcom, Best Actor, Best Actress, all that. When we gave our tape that year, we beat them in all the categories. And suddenly people come around and said, what the hell is this? What show is this? Please, you never heard of it before. And in the second season, we got full sponsorship. We had 3 major sponsors. All our advertisement time, usually the commercial time, is given for commercials, and some of it is given for other shows that are coming up the week. But there were so many commercials pressing into air during our commercial break that all airtime was sold out. And we got a lot of sponsored items. I remember getting a free Samsung handphone. That's what you got. I cannot bring home, only others. So there you go. That's the background.
Yeah, on that question, I get that asked of me all my life. And sometimes I can tell the question is coming. There's a certain look in people's eyes. And it's always followed by, I hope you don't mind me asking. And I can tell. And I've often thought I should actually print out a little explanation and keep it. So the moment they say, I hope you don't read that, and yeah. But no, actually it's very funny. It's a very strange thing actually, but it's a very uncommon name, and it comes from Kerala. That's my dad's name. And when he came over from India to Singapore, he went up to the clerk there. He said, what's your name? It would be pronounced Choy, I think, or Choy, or something like that. My father would have said Choy, right? This is Singapore, so there's a Chinese clerk there. What's his name? Choy. And he spelled it the C-H-O-I. So my father and everybody in my family got an I in their names. Except that when it came to my registration, and they decided to put Y. So I couldn't share in the family's wealth after that. But more importantly, it caused a lot of confusion. People said, and then people come up to me and say, are you Chinese? I say, look at me, and do I look Chinese? Happens, yeah? Or Siva Choy becomes Sylvia Choy. And I've sat in waiting rooms and had that where people say, guys, this Sylvia Choy hasn't come. There's only one guy left there. It's a source of confusion. I never knew there was anything wrong with my name until I was in primary school. And in primary school, every now and then, they used to get, all of you line up outside, what for? Injection, vaccination, smallpox, cholera. It never came together, one by one. So we got used to it. So one day, line up, what for? Some registration or the other. So the guy said, what's your name? Sivanandan. What's your surname? Choy. And this stranger said, you don't be funny. It's here in Singapore, we have a very funny definition of funny. Yeah, why did you chop that man into 6 pieces? Because he tried to be funny. So he said, you don't be funny, huh? I said, my real name. I asked you one more time. And when I told him, I said, Choy, he grabbed me by the ear. told me to the teacher and said this, and between the two of them, and the teacher said, no, that is his real name. And typical, this is 1955, 56. No such thing as sorry. Teachers never say sorry to students, right? So I never got that apology, but I sensed from that day onward there was something wrong with the name. But as a corollary to that one, in Singapore, when I went in there, the guy said, "What's your name?" "Choy." "Then why is your surname behind? Chinese surname go in front, you know that?" And I wasn't fussy, you know, I just said, "Okay, anything." So I became Choy Sivanandan. The rest of my family was Sivanandan Choy, I was Choy Sivanandan. And finally, when I went over to Australia, the guy said, "What's your surname?" I said, "Choy." He said, "Why is it going in front?"
Okay. So maybe we can take two final questions. Yes, you first, and then anybody else? One over there, yeah, okay.
I'm directing my question to Gurmit Singh. Can I know how do you get the name Phua Chu Kang? Is it anything to do with the district Choa Chu Kang?
Oh, no, not at all. One of the writers came out that you should come up with a name that's so not good for a contractor. So it's a Hokkien derivative. Never mind. It's not Hokkien. See, we are super people say that. Only A levels. Phua is a panel, broken. Chu is a house. Kang is one hole. So for that kind of name for a contractor was already funny in itself. That's why I came up with that name. It was done by a writer. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, last question. Thanks, yeah.
Can I ask the three of you, on the local stand-up comedy scene, aside from Kuma, who is the other comedian you look very highly to? And question number two is this: what do you think is the major problem that a stand-up comedian faces here or anywhere else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, you assume that I look up to Kuma. I don't. No. Besides Kuma, I would say Mark Lee, Adrian Pang. I've said this in interviews before. I think Adrian Pang, if he played Portugal, it would have been the next level. I respect him so much. I've seen him in different roles in theatre and films. And every time he does something different, he brings on something new that I don't see in other shows. So I always I adore the man. Adrian Pang is really good. Who are your heroes? How about you?
Actually, my hero is Gurmit Singh.
Hey.
No, truly, I'm not very diplomatic or anything.
Yeah.
Truly, yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but we did a movie together. It was my first movie. It was called One Leg Kicking. He was already in Perth, or we flew him back in cargo, and air-flown beef. And we did our first, that's when I knew about Siva Choy.
Yeah, in fact, before that, I think you had me on your show.
Yeah.
And we discussed what it's like to be, to look Chinese and have an Indian name. Yes. And to look Indian and have a Chinese name. And match made in heaven. And he came up with the best solution. He said, "We exchange names for problem solved."
Hi, I'm Siva Choy. Or actually, Choy Siva. Stand-up comedians, I can't answer that. I tell you why. I've only done one stand-up comedy show in my life. I've always refused to do stand-up comedy because I think it's the hardest thing to do. You go up there, you're very, very vulnerable. You're going on stage by yourself and saying, "Hey guys, I'm going to be funny now. Check it out." Whereas in my career, I've hidden behind characters. I have my armor of my characteristics, personalities and all that, and that helps me because I cannot do it alone. I only done it once. It was happy ever laughter. There were 10 comedians, everyone has 10 minutes, and after me, Kuma will come over. And so if I bombed, Kuma will still be able to pick up the show. Long story short, it was a good show, sell out, so much so that the producers came to me after second night and said, "Gurmit, you are natural as a stand-up comedian. We want to do a 1-hour show, just you alone." I say go and die. So I've never done. So yeah, I don't know what the problems are for stand-up comedians. See what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's very hard because you're the only person on stage. There's nobody else you can fall back on. So if you fail, you fail. And that's it. And if you're on stage for like an hour and a half, I did one for an hour and a half. Big regret. I never did it again. No, truly. And I've only done stand-up twice, really. And you're as good as your audience. If you took me out of a Singlish audience and put me anywhere else in the world, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's just, I don't know the audience. I need to know the audience, and that's what makes it work.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Usually with all these comedians, it's a terrible hard act to follow, but I think Siva and Gurmit, you both agree with me that this has been a great afternoon because also of our audience. Thank you very, very much again. I'm sure there'll be opportunities for meeting them, talking with them, get up close and personal, all of that. Thank you, and wait further announcement for another Lien Fung Colloquium event, okay? Thank you very, very much. Good night. Yeah, bye-bye.
So hot, it's burning good. Music is gonna make you feel good. Stop your head, the butt, you catch that good feeling out there. Well, feel calm on the phone right away. The interactive program, and we want to really choose and run the count that's coming up.
There we go. There we go.
Thank you very much.
Take photo together with all the